Funny enough, you don't often need a proper handbag on holiday because, my handbag works in London. It doesn't really work in my Caribbean island because it's less formal in places like that. So you kind of need other types of carrying things. I get what you're saying about the journey, but when you're there, you don't really need a proper handbag, really. In fact, it draws attention to you in a way that you wouldn't want. You kind of want, some kind of, different arrangement.
Well, I have a different arrangement. It's instead of a black leather Italian handbag, I have a black straw holiday handbag.
Oh, there you go. Yes, my holiday handbag.
Yeah. Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Well, hello Judith, how's your week been?
Hi Nicola, good. How about you?
Oh, I've had a lovely week. You start this week, because I started last week.
Okay, so three things about my week. It's the last week of the month, so there's a tearing rush for my clients to book themselves into my diary before the weekend. So much so I've got 15 clients this week, which feels like quite a lot.
Yes, it does.
In fact, I've got one. I've already done one before us this morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 today. So that's quite a busy day. And what else has happened this week? The Oscars. I love film. And, I've got this big project going on in my own life, which is a gamble. Both of them seem to me to be about winning and losing. There are winners and there are losers, and that's just how it is. And it's still okay somehow. I thought I didn't sit up all night this year, but I often do. But it seemed to me to be, a great result, obviously, Eddie Redmayne, which, as you know, in one of our earlier podcasts, I talked about and said how much I'd loved the film and learned about Stephen Hawking and everything.
Yeah.
And then there was a wonderful picture of him yesterday. Sorry, say again? Just
slow up for a sec, because you said the word film very quickly, and I only barely caught it, and I only know about this because I know that you have is it Oscars thing that you do? Tell everyone about your Oscars thing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, the thing where you said something about staying up all night to watch it.
Oh, well, often I do stay up all night to watch it. I don't have a television, as you know, and even if you have a television, you can't watch it in England unless you have Sky, which I suppose most people do have. Sky own the Oscars in the UK. You can. Sky have this thing called Now TV, which means you can watch it on all your gadgets, and I don't have that either. But you can have a free subscription for 30 days, which means you can watch it. And I've done that most years, but this year I didn't do it. But I'm just saying what I did observe, and this is the theme of my day slightly, and I'm not going to spoil it by telling you what's coming, but even if you lose in the Oscars, you're still a winner.
Absolutely, because you get the exposure, don't you? And I think
also you're selected as one of the top 5 in your thing in a year. And also the funny thing, like all of these things, like the X Factor and everything that we watch, is it's already wrapping yesterday's chips, isn't it? Because the news is come and gone. So there's all that build up and hype and excitement, but it's over already.
Yes, and it's all been created by marketing people.
Well, that's actually my theme of the day.
Oh.
It's reality. Reality. What is
Yeah.
reality?
Okay, and the other thing that our listeners should know, not our readers, as you may notice, I've adjusted my terminology, is that you actually try and see all the films, don't you, before the actual night itself?
Often I do. This year, again, because I had my other big thing going on, it all just seemed rather unimportant to me. But I did manage to catch 3 of them online over the weekend, yes. So that I like to feel that I'm on top of the majority of it, because films are a great passion of mine.
Yeah.
I don't bother to watch ones that I don't think I'll enjoy or don't like. But I am also prepared to be surprised. And I saw Whiplash, which I think you might like, actually, because I was going to say it's about drumming, and that sounds rather weird. I'm not interested in drumming in the least.
Jazz
But
drumming, though, isn't it? Jazz.
It is about music. It's about music, really, and a passion for being the best at something, and whether or not the ends justify the means.
Well, it's interesting because I was watching Uncharacteristically for me. I was up quite late this. I've not been sleeping very well recently. I don't know why. And so I've been watching quite a bit of TV. I was watching Film 2015, and they showed a clip from it where the bloke who's teaching the drummer made him cry. And I thought, my God, that actor is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to have to watch that film. And the other thing, obviously, as I hang out with jazz people quite a bit because of Heather, and I do know some jazz drummers, so I do think I'd love the film. Yeah.
I do think you would love it, actually. And I think I tell you what was really refreshing is to see a whole film about music. And it's not really about music. It is about music and it's not about music. But we don't often see films that are entirely about music.
Yeah, that's right. And I love music. I mean, obviously I can't sing to save my life, as has been proved on many occasions. But I do love people with passion, and musicians definitely come into that because they don't do it for money. That's for sure most of the time.
Yeah.
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 So is that your 3 things?
That's my 3 things. What about your 3 things?
Well, I did another VIP day yesterday. And
I saw on Facebook. How exciting.
I managed not to lose her this time. It was great. No, it was great. We started with coffee, and it was really interesting how similar our backgrounds were. Obviously, when you're coaching a client, you try and make it all about them, but you can't help it sometimes. They say something, and you think, "Oh, blimey, that's just like me or my background or my childhood or whatever." And she was an awesome businesswoman. She's worked at the very top level in recruitment, working alongside James Caan on occasion, and just an amazing person. But it's quite a typical story, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me saying, because she's done a lot of coach training. She's really, really into emotional intelligence and how that plays out in a corporate environment with leadership and entrepreneurs. But she was struggling to put it all together in a business that, she was obsessed with the tools and the training and the qualifications, like all new coaches are, and NLP practitioners and people like that. So I asked her permission at the beginning of the day to be rather brutal. So she gave me that. So we had a lot of fun, and we moved from coffee shop to pub to restaurant to the office at the end, the business centre at the end of my town. Again, and it just worked so amazingly well. And I was brutal with it. Every time she started to talk about, qualifications and things, I just went yada yada. So what, and we came out at the end of the day with a really stonking business plan for her. So, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt tired but exhilarated at the end of it. So that was really nice. The second thing is that we've had listeners sending in audio snippets.
Oh, good.
I know, isn't that exciting? So on this episode here, we will be featuring audio snippets from our contributors this week. One of whom is Rihanna. But what we'll do is I'll use the snippets this week when I edit, and then I can credit the people who sent them in next week. I think that's the way.
And do you know what they're of?
Well, I think we've got some wave noises, so you'll be happy. Beach noises. And the other one came with a rather strange. In fact, let me just consult my my email. It came with a rather strange subject line. It just said audio, but then it had lots of different interesting symbols. Here we are. Background sounds. You probably have sloshing through mud, dogs barking, an overhead airliner, an overhead plane, but a little one. Bird song, not as good as I'd hoped. That's all from Rihanna, which is pretty awesome. So I can't wait to listen to the sloshing through mud. It could be us on a country walk, Judith. I know how fond of...
Well, unlikely, Nicola. I mean, I don't even have Wellington boots. I don't do mud, really, darling.
Yeah. I imagine your boots are pink, aren't they?
I don't know. I don't really do outdoors. I don't do any weatherproofing. I don't know. I mean, I'm urban, me.
I've heard rumours that you have been seen in a London park with Marion Ryan marching uphill.
Ah, yes, trainers. That's right. Okay. You're right. We have. Yeah.
You can't get anything past me. I stalk you on social media. And the other thing is, I'm obsessed with luggage at the moment. I'm spending a lot of time looking for wheel-on cases because I'm going to Malta for my one of my oldest friends. I've got a friend called Kim. We've been friends for 35 years. I've been friends with a friend called Michael as long, but he lives in Malta with his partner. And at Easter weekend, they're going to be the first male gay couple to get married on Malta, which I'm thrilled, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be invited to the wedding. And I'm devastated that I've lost all my hats, so I now have to go and buy a fascinator. Apparently, they wear in Malta.
Can I tell you a story about Malta?
Oh, I'd love to hear one.
My brother was born in Malta in 1957, and my father was fighting in the Suez Canal at the time. So my mother, alone in a foreign country, drove herself down a rutted track to hospital to give birth.
Oh, my goodness.
And when my brother came of age, 18, he was called up to the Maltese army.
Because he was born there?
Yeah, but we managed to get him out of that.
Oh, right, okay. I'm going to Goza.
But it is a lovely island that I've lived on twice, and I've been back to on holiday. It's a strange place, actually. It's sort of a little bit like North Africa and a little bit like Shoreham. Well, and what I mean is, it's very English.
I nearly spat
my... that is. Well, it's got red post boxes and red telephone boxes and Marks and Spencers, so it's quite familiar. But it is also hot and like North Africa. It's strange.
Well, I did literally nearly spit my coffee out there when you said it's like Shoreham. No, I'm looking forward to it enormously. And Michael said, they live in a lovely villa, obviously gay. They've got fantastic taste in interior design. I've seen pictures. And he said, just come as early as you like, stay as long as you like. We'll find you somewhere to stay with internet connection, and we'll just catch up, and it's just I'm just so looking forward to it. And anyway,
so I know that your internet connection is your one requirement.
it's a non-negotiable, as they say.
Yeah.
But then I'm off to Vegas to speak at someone's mastermind in early May. So I need to and what I've decided is I'm sick of schlepping through airports with my great big handbag on my shoulder. I always put everything in it because I want everything with me on the plane, but it's just too much like hard work. So I've been looking for wheelie luggage that I can actually put my handbag inside. All the contents of my handbag inside. And also, one of the guys on the cruise, they lost his luggage, so he had to go the whole week in Mexico, Cozumel, Mexico T-shirts. And I just think, it's a bit of a warning sign to always have a change of underwear in your hand luggage.
I definitely think that you need a change of underwear. And I like a nightie, a swimming costume, and a frock.
That's a very good idea. I'm just looking at the first bit of hand luggage that's arrived from Amazon, though. It's far too tiny. It won't even fit my handbag in it, I don't think. Yeah. So I'm now looking at IT luggage, which is the lightest luggage in the world, apparently.
But funny enough, you don't often need a proper handbag on holiday because, my handbag works in London. It doesn't really work in my Caribbean island because it's less formal in places like that. So you kind of need other types of carrying things. When I get what you're saying about the journey, but when you're there, you don't really need a proper handbag, really. In fact, it draws attention to you in a way that you wouldn't want. You kind of want, some kind of, different arrangement.
Well, I have a different arrangement. It's instead of a black leather Italian handbag, I have a black straw holiday handbag.
Oh, there you go. Yes, my holiday handbag. Exactly.
Yeah. And, the thing is, if I didn't have one, I would feel like I was missing something all the time, so I'd be panicking subconsciously. So,
yes.
So what's fueled your fire this week, then?
Well, it's a quote. I'm beginning to get into my theme here. There's a clue coming about my word of the week. I'm not going to point it out to you yet, but I have a client, Alice, very clever woman, writer and an artist, a painter. I really like her paintings, and I know nothing about art, as you know, but she found a podcast this week, Nicola, that you might like. It's called savvypainter.com.
Oh.
And she shared this immortal quote, which I thought was great. It's not about logical thinking. There is no formula. It's navigating in a sea of illusions, millions of mistakes and errors, and you never get to a destination anyhow. And I think that works not just with art, actually, but it works with business and life. I know we want to think there's logical thinking and a formula. Often there isn't. We're navigating in a sea of illusions. We make millions of mistakes and errors. We pick ourselves up, we get on, and there's no destination anyhow. It's the journey. We sort of come back to this point in part every week. It's the journey, not the destination. But lots of my clients want to think there's logical thinking and a formula. Just tell me what to do, Judith. I can't really. All I can say is this is what's worked for me. This is what I see working for other people. Just have a go. Get comfortable in navigating in that sea of illusions and get comfortable with making millions of mistakes and errors and adjusting. I thought that was really inspirational on Monday from Alice.
I loved it when I saw it. Yes, I saw you post it, and it talks very much to the entrepreneurial uncertainty that my mentor talks about. People just cannot understand that there are no. Well, I've sat in with mentors and said, just tell me what to do that will work, and it just can't be done. You have to. Yesterday, for example, we went through all her materials that she'd created, this client, and we created an outline business plan. But I had to keep stressing to her, I don't know if that bit's going to work, but we can test it. And you can only test it once it's in place. And you have to have a skeleton structure in place to be able to start testing. But if you can let go and realise that it's not certain, but you can test, it's such an immense relief because you don't have to get it right the first time.
No. There is a book, I like you talking about entrepreneurial uncertainty. There is a book by a man called Jonathan Fields called Uncertainty, Turning Fear and Doubt into Fuel for Brilliance, which I recommend.
Is he one of the minimalists?
No, he's not. That's Joshua Fields Milburn. This is Jonathan Fields. You'll know him when you see him because he is a big operative online. Not in your niche precisely, but you'll recognise him when you see him.
What's fueled my fire this week has been software. Basically, I've been moving all my membership content to a forum sort of site, and I'm discovering more and more what it can do. It's much easier for the clients to use. It's word searchable in a way that the other stuff I've been using, like Wishlist and Optimized Press, isn't. I just discovered yesterday that I can feed in our podcasts, so you can create a forum topic and it says, click to register a feed. And I thought, I'll just try our podcasts. And I did that. And now all of our podcast episodes are automatically feeding into the members area. Which is nice because it means that, on iTunes, for example, you only really see the last 50 episodes. So it makes the episodes that went before that, they're not unavailable because if you download the app, the podcast app, and then click feed, you can access them. But most people don't know to do that. So once, it just gives our podcasts a better lease of life, really, to all my members.
It's evergreen.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously then I'm going to get, all the transcriptions piled in and that'll become part of the content, which, I'm just loving the fact that I can put everything I've ever created in one home and that it will be accessible and linked, so if somebody does a search for, say, I don't know, I interviewed a guy called, I can't remember, it's gone, Matt, and his business was the art of the Kickstart. Well, everyone's interested in Kickstarter, and all the entrepreneurs are, and how to raise money on Kickstarter, and he's a specialist in this. Well, if anyone in my membership area now puts in Kickstarter campaign, his interview will come up and the transcription of the interview. So I'm loving that. And the other bit of software I'm really enjoying is our diary software, which you put me onto. I love the fact that I can open up my diary in the morning and it's, my Google diary, and the appointments from Setmore are feeding through into my Google diary.
Oh, good. I love it when I turn you on to something like that.
So, software and GoToWebinar, obviously, which we're recording this interview on, and I do all my podcast interviews. So for very little amounts of money, Setmore's $99 a year, Zen 4.0 cost $145 a year license, and GoToWebinar is probably the most expensive at 60-odd quid a month.
My Setmore is free.
Yeah, I did use the free one, but I like the way that you can do a two-way sync with your Google Diary.
So you have to pay for certain functionality, do you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the software as a service model, is get them in and use, and then offer them something cool just to upgrade. And
in terms of this sort of thing, what did you call it? GoToWebinar. I use something called WebEx, which is fantastic. I'm really, really loving it. It automatically sends the recording to all the participants immediately after the call is over and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, I might have to look at doing that for. Mind you, I'm already paying for GoToWebinar, so
we need this, I think, for this. But I did find something else that I really liked that was very easy to use, and it enables me to do things like share screens and make them presenters. And we've never done any of that, but it does. It's got lots of functionality. I can look at them on video if I want to, which I don't. But, it's got lots of things that other people might use it for.
I love the fact that it automatically. Do you have to actually click record, or does it automatically record?
No, I click. You click record when you set it up, and actually it automatically records. I have to turn it off because if I'm there by myself, that's quite dull. Or if the audio recording is poor because the person's dial-up connection or whatever isn't very good, VoIP connection isn't very good. But you get used to all of the habits that are required to use these things quite quickly, I find, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I'm most grateful for is I've got, I think it comes from being a seamstress, actually. So I can look at a bit of software and very quickly, intuitively puzzle out how it works. And I think that's because I'm able to see in 3D somehow. I was always able to look at a pattern piece and see how it would turn into a garment. It's like,
I used to make my own clothes at school. I have the school needlework prize. Then it wasn't really necessary once cheap clothing came in our adult lives, but I used to make a lot of clothes when I was younger. My parents gave me a sewing machine for my 21st birthday. I did used to like that, actually. It's creative, isn't it?
It is, and I love the neatness of it, getting your seams exactly right and then doing the overlocking, which trims off all the extra. I mean, it appeals to the OCD and the creative in me. I never forget how excited I was when I worked out how to make a pattern for a puffball skirt in the 80s.
Oh, I remember. God heavens, Nicola, you didn't wear a puffball skirt, did you?
I did. I was rake thin in those days, so it was okay to add a bit of bulk around the hips.
So you looked like a funny thing on a stick.
I wasn't ever quite that rake thin, but I definitely did a nice line in linen puffball skirts and fitted tailored jackets that were rather splendid. Made quite a bit of money
now, though, doesn't it? Sounds dreadful now, don't you think?
Yeah, it does. But I loved it. I used to lie in bed at night thinking up patterns and how they would work. That's tragic, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. So what's our client challenge of the week then?
It's half term.
Oh, okay. I remember those days.
Now, you see, they will all insist on trying to work at the same time. And my goal is for work-at-home parents just to take half term off. And while we're about at school holidays, we don't have to work 50, 52, 48 weeks of the year. We can work 36 and make this work. Now, so the best thing I've managed to achieve with them this half term is that they do other quote unquote work. And this includes thinking, feeling, reading, taking exercise, enjoying the children, being available to them, and doing a bit of clutter clearing with them. But you cannot sit down at your desk and lose yourself in a project for 9 hours at a time with little people tugging at your sleeve and getting impatient and wanting you to lift things down off a high shelf and supervise them in the kitchen and all that sort of thing. Nightmare. Don't try and split yourself in half. I'm not a parent, but I've always been on a mission for this. Some of my clients, quite a lot of them who work fewer hours in a week and fewer weeks in a year, achieve more than the rest of us who let it spread across 40 hours a week, 40, 48, 50 weeks of the year. I think don't try and work at half term.
Do you know, if I had my time again, this is the one thing. I mean, I don't believe in regrets. It's a pointless emotion, as someone very famous said. But it's the one thing I feel I would change. I feel bad about. I feel I wasn't as present as I could have been. I used to block out the thought of half term even, and wherever possible, put Phoebe and Nelson into some really good fun kids club, because I just felt absolutely compelled to work all the time because I was the main earner. And looking back on it, I just wish I could have given myself permission to take the odd week off, and even if I wasn't going anywhere with them, just to be there for them.
I think it's about being torn in several directions. I think actually to hear you use a word like presence, present for them is exactly what I'm talking about. It's quite difficult as a work-at-home parent anyway. You feel split in so many different directions, and there's often a frustrating lack of time for you, it might be 9:30 till 3 or something like that. But I slightly envy these people. I wish I could only work from 9:30 till 3, because you've got to be more focused.
Boundaries, yeah.
You can't waste your time fannying about, and if you can work in 5 hours and do that for, say, 5, 10, 20 to 25 hours a week, and be present for the children and not be multitasking and not be torn in half, and be more present and be more relaxed, that's a life. And I really do think we should be having a life at the same time. I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast, isn't it? Own it, your business and your life. Have a life. Take half term, 3 of them a year, take them off.
I did build the money gym initially, before you came on the scene, working literally from the minute they went to school at 9 until 3. And I remember Sarah was building her web business, and we used to sit in, those, you've probably never been in one, those awful indoor adventure playgrounds that all smell of sweaty socks, and I've got this background noise of screaming children, and they serve the worst cappuccino known to humanity. But we used to sit there every Friday with the bad cappuccino, and the kids would run around having a great time, and we'd plan our next week. And then, we'd review what had happened this week in our businesses. So we did actually manage to fit it into the kids' working hours. But I do remember one of the biggest tensions in my marriage was when Irving on a Saturday morning would be saying things like, come on, let's go to the park, let's go to the park. And I'd be saying, I've got to send this newsletter out. And I'm sure he was equally frustrated with me putting the newsletter, which had to go out first, above going to the park right now. And it was awful. I hated it.
Yeah. It is the being torn in several directions, which is damaging to, the person I care about, who's my client, I think.
Yeah. And
they've all reported that they were able to do other work and come back refreshed, which I think is good. Thinking, feeling, reading, enjoying the children, being available to them, doing a bit of clutter clearing with them, going out, exercising, all of that sort of stuff. You don't have to be on holiday exactly. It's more, a staycation or something. But it's a different way of being for a week, which can be quite refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Did I tell you about the Lego story last week? I can never remember what I've said.
Yes, you did. You said Phoebe couldn't remember going. You two had come back from Vegas.
That's it. Yeah.
And yes, she couldn't actually remember going.
So, but then she does remember the funny little things, that we did spontaneously, So you don't need to spend a lot of money to entertain the children. They remember the time you spend with them more than anything else, I think.
Yeah, I think my message is don't split yourself in half. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, it's painful, and it makes you feel like you're just never good enough. You're not good enough.
And I think if we can start with getting half terms, off, we could do school holidays off. We could do 3 terms a year. If you've got children, work 3 terms a year. I this is one of my absolute hobby horses, which is work in 6-week chunks.
Yeah, and then the good thing about the internet is you do the work, and it is quite a lot of work to set it up, but then it does roll on, without you. I mean, the client that came yesterday, we were trying to trace the story of how she came across me and how she progressed through my marketing funnel. And it was not because I want patting on the back. It was because I was trying to prove to her that it happened despite me, and I wasn't actually, I've set all this stuff up ages ago, over the last year or two. She was watching videos that she thought I'd just released that actually I'd recorded last year, and was sitting in a launch sequence. So I was just trying to show that it absolutely does work. And yes, you could do that in term time, and then it would roll through the holidays, carrying on attracting clients while you're out with the kids somewhere.
Yeah, and even if it took us a couple of years to get into place, I still think it's worth doing.
Yes, you just have to remember to make everything evergreen and not talk about, Christmas and Easter and what year it is and things like that. I'm definitely getting better at that. People will think puffball skirts. Are we back in the 80s? What's going on?
First, a word from our sponsors. This week's episode was sponsored by Audio Jungle. To get some immediate atmosphere for your website or your recordings, go to ownitthepodcast.com/Audio Jungle.
What's your word of the week then?
Well, Alice's quote hinted at it. It's illusion. The things that we believe in aren't real. We know, don't we, from quantum physics, that a chair is not a chair. It's just a handful of vibrating, I don't even know what they're called. What's smaller than an atom? They're smaller than an atom.
Oh, I don't know. Nanoatoms?
When you go into the middle of atoms, there's nothing there. There's just a vibration.
Oh, I don't know about that. I haven't got that.
It is. There's nothing. Things that look solid to us, if you go into them, they're not. They're just vibration. And the same, I think, is true with our beliefs. We make them up and we think they're true, but they're not true. Everything is an illusion. And one of my clients this week, she was absolutely exhausted, but she spent quite a long time on Skype talking to me. I said, "Are you drunk?" Because she was so tired, she sounded drunk. She was going, "It's all an illusion. It's all an illusion." Yes, it is all an illusion. Everything, including the Oscars. That's my point at the beginning. It's an illusion whether you buy into "I'm the winner" or "I'm the loser." This thing about the navigating in a sea of illusions really spoke to me, and then this client taking a long time to talk to me about illusion. Physical things aren't real, and the things we believe in aren't real, and we can choose our reality, and we can choose what illusions are helpful, and we don't have to take on anybody else's illusions. Illusion is my word of the week. Nothing's real, Nicola, except that we make it so.
I know, yes, I've done a lot of reading about meaning and feelings, and because I was ruled by my feelings for so many years, and it was only when I did a lot of work last year on this that there's the postman popping. So he always makes me jump. It's so violent the way he shoves the letters through the locks. So he's definitely not an illusion. He's very real, usually in the middle of a podcast. But no, and when I realised that every time I felt bad, I could think about why I was feeling bad, and it was always to do with the meaning I was attaching to something. And the meaning I was attaching to something was always coming from a feeling that actually was generated many years ago. It was attached to something that had happened in the past that made me feel a certain way, which now certain events I attach meaning to them and feeling to. And as soon as I realised all that, it completely set me free from being dominated and ruled by my emotions, which I had been for so many years. It takes 50 odd years to learn this stuff, though, doesn't it?
Yes.
Which is jolly annoying.
It is. Yeah, that's why I liked Alice's quote so much, because we make it all up.
Yes, we do. And different people would experience the same thing and have completely different reactions to it, because
I know
it would mean something different to them.
Yes, I know. How often does somebody tell you something, or you think something and somebody challenges you on it? Is that true?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But no, not really. I mean, your illusion wouldn't be mine, and vice versa. That's the thing. We're living in this world, and the movies where we started is very much about, illusion in a good way, in a way that we love, and that reminds me, that I buy into that illusion to a greater or lesser extent, and the more I buy in, likely the more I am to enjoy it. Suspending disbelief, I think it's called, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think, in my business life and in my real life, and in the things that clients turn up and tell me as if they're facts burnt into their arm with a branding iron, it's not real.
I heard a great expression. It was, human beings are meaning-making machines.
Yeah, you told us that before when you came back from Rich's thing.
Right.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It really is. We were having a conversation yesterday about, a lot of the day was about emotional intelligence, and apparently they've worked out a way to measure it now, and corporates are actually getting really interested in it, because they figure that it's actually one of the things that people need to thrive and succeed, in the next 100 years going forward. It's not about academic intelligence, it's about flexibility and emotional intelligence. So they worked out a way to measure it. But we were also talking about empathy and narcissism, because at some point and funny you mentioned films, because I'm famous in my family for identifying with a character in a film whenever I'm watching a film, and identifying with them so strongly that I actually am having the feelings, and I'm creating the backstory, and all this business. And the kids just find it absolutely hilarious, because they just watch a film, and enjoy the story, whereas I just get so far into it, and I think it's empathy bordering on narcissism. But no, it's all good fun. And the other interesting thing is when you become aware of this stuff, and then you're talking to someone, as I'm sure you talk to your clients, and I talk to clients and friends as well, because a lot of my friends are not in this personal development world at all. When you're talking to someone who doesn't know this stuff and who hasn't got these tools at their disposal, it's very interesting how trapped they are in their reactions to things, no matter how helpful.
Yeah. Yes, and therefore, of course, one can't just knock it down in one great big huff and puff. You have to chip away at it to the extent that they are bright enough and brave enough to see your alternative view and let those things drop away.
Yeah. It was very interesting working with someone who was so clued up on personal development yesterday, because normally I have to go through quite a bit of that, because there's absolutely no point in creating a business plan if the person's beliefs are going to get in the way. So I usually unearth all their negative and limiting beliefs about their business before we even make the business plan. But yesterday I didn't need to do that so much, because this person was very clued up indeed. So it shortcutted it all rather nicely.
It saved you some time.
Yes.
The word of the week?
I do, yes. It's a connection. Today on Facebook, Ryan Levesque, who's written a brilliant book called Ask. I highly recommend this to everyone. In fact, if you go to thebusinesssuccessfactory.com, just go to the blog. He's the latest episode of my interview podcast. He's giving away 50 copies of his books to my readers. You don't even have to pay the postage and packing. It's amazing. And he mentioned on Facebook how much he'd enjoyed the interview, and actually he nearly broke down in tears at one point, and it choked me up as well, because it's interesting how many of my interviewees, John Lee Dumas did this, Rich did this. I think there's something about the amount of time that you have in an hour interview and asking someone about their early life, how they became the entrepreneur they are today. It opens people up in a way that is quite unexpected. And when you get one of those moments on an interview, a podcast, or even when you're listening to it, John Lee Dumas actually does this to his guests quite often, accidentally, it's a connection between two people who have never met, might never meet, and didn't know each other before that moment. But in that moment, when someone reveals something about themselves that is so poignant and the other person feels it too, the energy changes on the call. It's an amazing moment. Now, Ryan and I will always remember that. We never meet, which is rather marvellous.
Yes.
And
it is possible to do that. It is possible to. I think that's one of the things that we're very good at in the UK, which is to have a little exchange with a complete stranger like that, which acknowledges their existence. At the bus stop, at the checkout, in the petrol station. We're rather good at that, I think. Having a little moment, not in the in-depth way you describe in your podcast, but sometimes I've been to other countries where they don't talk to strangers and have little exchanges like that. Maybe it's just me.
No, I know what you mean. There's a sort of semi-homeless man who sits in Shoreham High Street, and I went to get my hair cut with my friend Kim, who I only really see at haircuts now. We're trying to go out once a month as well. This homeless man walked past the window when I was getting my hair cut, and I said, "What's Peter doing here?" And she said, "How do you know his name?" I said, "Well, because I talk to him all the time." She said, "So do I. In fact, I've just hired him to clear the garden." And it was interesting that we'd both made the connection with Pete. He's not a homeless man. He's what he calls himself. It's not a traveller. It's something else. He lives in a yurt on the downs somewhere. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail about Peter, but he's an interesting chap, and he loves jazz too. So I think that's how we made the connection. It's interesting what little things make connections with people, isn't it?
Yes.
Don't know how we got talking about jazz at all, but there you go. Coming in and out of the co-op.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? That a preparedness to talk to strangers leads to connection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always very aware that people who are sitting on the street, say that people walk past them without seeing them. So I do try to, always make a point of actually.
Well, we talked briefly when you came back from America about people in the service industry, and there was a very amusing piece on Facebook last night about how they spell your name wrongly on Starbucks cups. And then I thought to myself, well, do you know what? If I was a Starbucks barista, I'd probably spell your name wrongly on a cup as well. Just it might be my only revenge for you treating me like SH1T. So they clearly decided that everybody called Alan will be spelt alien, which I thought was quite funny. I get quite cross with people on this side of the counter, not making eye contact with them, not saying hello, how are you, not coming off their mobile phones, not saying please and thank you. And frankly, if I was on their side of the counter, I would probably take revenge on spelling your name wrongly on a cup as well.
Well, I'd be thinking up much worse things to do.
Well, you don't need to spell to make a cup of coffee. You do need to spell to be a courier deliverer person, clearly, but you don't need to. And I just think, I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. I was having a little laugh about this spelling, and then I thought, do you know what? They don't need to spell. We don't need to laugh at them because they can't spell. As long as they can make a decent cup of coffee and they're good company, we treat them nicely. I don't think, there you go. You're talking to strange homeless people. We should all be nicer. That's what I'm saying. Let's be nicer.
And you know what? It's not about what you're doing for them. It's about how much better it makes you feel.
Oh, well, both. Yes, absolutely. That's the thing you discover from volunteering, isn't it? Is that nobody would ever volunteer to do anything if it didn't make everybody feel better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, who or what's impressed you this week then?
I get my clients to turn up on Monday mornings and do check-in reports, and the people who've impressed me this week are those who show up when they don't want to. So, the good girls and the keenies and the girly swats and the those who know it work and who are wedded to them and who are feeling good, they send theirs in, and then I start with those, and I roust up everybody else. And when people are in darkness and doubt, they don't want to send their report in. Oh, no. God, I know that place, don't you? But after I roust them up a bit, another dozen or so come in, and a couple will say, I really didn't want to send in my report this week because I'm feeling a bit low and I didn't want to share that. I think people who show up when they don't want to are they've impressed me, and they impress me all the time because it's so difficult to say in a group, I'm in a low place.
Yeah, and I haven't done anything. That's because
but it turns the corner, but they have to that comes second. They have to go first. They have to be brave, and they have to say it's not great for me this week. And I think that's a brave thing to do. And normally we encourage them and cheer them up, and they turn a corner within 48 hours. But I think to be able to do that when you're in the darkness and doubt place is impressive.
I really respect you for working with newbie entrepreneurs and creative people like that, because creative people actually are very ruled by their emotions, aren't they? That's where it all comes from, the creativity. But I respect you enormously for having the tremendous patience that you have with the love and patience you have with your clients, because I tend to work with action takers, and I don't know if I could do what you do. So
Interestingly, for me, it doesn't take either patience or love. I don't have to find patience or love. It just is there. They're the people I naturally gravitate towards. They're the people I know I can help. And as I've said to you before, and I was saying to a client yesterday, running a business is easy. It's all the psychological stuff that makes it interesting for me.
Yeah.
To find a way to prize them out of that, or to create a community where it's okay to be vulnerable. That's very, very appealing to me, and I know it helps.
Yeah, because online, people buy products, but they stay for the community. That's a well-known thing. I mean, obviously, I'm obsessed with membership sites at the moment. So, but that is what it's all about. I pay several amounts of money to be in several communities every month, and
yes.
And I welcome the fact that I can just go and look, or I can join in, or I can say, I've got this challenge.
Oh. Hello. What's impressed you this week?
Well, I found an Eastern European called Zoltan on Elance who is making me some software. So we're back to software again, but it's my own software, Judith, and you're going to
how wonderful.
Well, I'll tell you how good this is, right? I've got, if anyone's out there, because I'm putting together a launch with Sue O'Kell, and she's coaching me through, lead generators, opt-in, gifts, bribes, whatever you want to call them, and then you create a little related thing to offer for $7 to $10, $17, something like that. But it's got to be related to the opt-in, and what I came up with was, because I've got a spreadsheet that I use regularly and give to clients, where you can actually go and look on Google to see how many searches there are for your key phrase. So I don't know, business coaching as an example, and the software, the spreadsheet, calculates how much, how many impressions you could get a month, how much it's going to cost you to get those impressions per click. Then you can extrapolate from that what it's going to cost you on Facebook. You can then put in your price of your product, how much it costs you to make that product, which is generally zero in the internet marketing world, how much profit you're likely to make in a year. If you use more than one platform like Facebook, say, for example, use Google Ad, 3 platforms, you can multiply it by 3. What your multiple is, so if you wanted to sell your business in, 10 years' time, if it was a multiple of 3 based on your profits. Anyway, it's a spreadsheet. Zoltan in Romania is turning it into a bit of software for me, which is
wow. Is that like an app or what? Will it be like an app?
Yeah, well, it's a bit like an app, but it's a WordPress plugin, so I'll be able to use it on any of my websites. So here,
Oh, perfect.
and it updates itself. Look, and if you've got a
So do you only use it on your website so you can sell it to other people? That's what you're saying?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a free gift, which is a video, which will show people how I use this. And anyone bright enough would be able to go away and make their own spreadsheet. But some people don't know how to use spreadsheets. Some people aren't comfortable with that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to offer, after they've opted in to see the video, I'm then going to offer them the opportunity to use my spreadsheet. It'll be on a hidden page of my membership site. And
so that's like a tripwire, is it?
Yes, exactly, a tripwire product. Yeah. But look at how good this is. I mean, it just changes. So price per click, I don't know, £1.50. I'm still getting used to learning it. I've just given him some feedback. Conversion of clicks to sales a day, £97. He's changing it to dollars. Value of sales a day, cost to buy, license manufacturing. So it works for physical products as well as information products. Total cost of product, total cost of kicks, net profit before overheads. Look, no, needs to be a positive figure, laugh. Annual profits, back-end sales, usually 2.2 times net profit. Annual profit. Anyway, I don't want to go through it all, but it's just a really gorgeous thing. And right at the end, it says if you use, 4 ad platforms, how does that change things, and what's your business resale value? Just on the numbers I've just put. I mean, we love a nice spreadsheet. And now
it doesn't look like a spreadsheet. That's the interesting thing, does it?
Sorry?
It doesn't look like a spreadsheet. That's the interesting thing.
No, absolutely. So if anyone out there has got a task that they have automated in some way, and you think it would be useful to other people, you can go onto Elance and post a job. And my quotes for doing this came in from $500 down to Zoltan's rather spectacularly low $79.50. And he's just produced this lovely thing.
Very good. Loving the sound of Zoltan.
Yeah, exactly. So my point is, I'm trying to encourage everyone to think what little things do they use in their business that might be useful to other people that you could get turned into a bit of software, which is either a traffic generator or an income generator for you.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, very nice. Thought you'd like that. That's us then. Software
it is us.
Illusions. The two.
Yes. Now, our gorgeous assistant Sarah is on a plane. Will this go out on Friday or what?
Possibly not, because she is, as you say, undertaking the mammoth 2-day journey from New Zealand, which involves crossing time zones and going.
I don't envy her that. Do you?
Oh, I don't envy her that at all. But again, it's another example of your illusion, isn't it? I mean, it's tomorrow in New Zealand and it's today here. I've got no idea how that works, but there you go. She's travelling back in time.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, that makes her younger when she arrives. Oh, we all ought to be doing that.
Or she gets to live, 13 hours, the same 13 hours twice or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes, it's Groundhog Day.
Oh, no, that's a horrible thought, isn't it? Talking back to films. All right, on that note, we shall leave you. Thanks very much for joining me today. See you soon.
All right, see you next week. Bye. Yeah, bye for now.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.